As we are approaching the release date of the next installment Yakuza game, like a Dragon Gaiden, the man who erased his name, let's revisit some of the older series and rank them accordingly. We will include the main series and also some of the more unconventional spin-offs like Yakuza Ishin and Yakuza Dead Soul. I also want to emphasize that this is my list and based on opinions. If you disagree, let me know, and I would like to hear it in the comments. Lastly, in my opinion, there are no bad games in the Yakuza series, and it's more about our preference. Without further ado, let's get started. First off, at the bottom of the list, we will have Yakuza Dead Soul. Arguably the worst of the series, the story is set in an alternate dimension where the team faces off in a zombie apocalypse setting. Instead of pulling the punches, here we are with big guns and shooting. Overall, it's an interesting concept, but the gameplay remains clunky and the shooting doesn't give you a sense of satisfaction. Mixed with a questionable storyline with a repetitive game loop where you have to visit similar stages over again makes the game easily the worst in the series. Next, we have Yakuza 3, if we are just looking at the newer series. Although the graphical fidelity was heightened during the transition from PS2 to PS3 during Yakuza 1/2-3. The newer game now when we revisit, the gameplay is clunky, and you can't sense a smooth flow of action. Along with a slower start to the storyline, players have to be patient, especially in the first few chapters when Kiryu retires himself and runs an orphanage in Okinawa. The number of fight encounters was also especially high, which easily makes players frustrated when they want to focus on the key objective of the game. Sorry, I can't have the game any higher. The next game we have on the list is the original Yakuza Kiwami. I know many of the people here would disagree with me as this is possibly the game where most Yakuza fans started. But hear me out, the game is good, especially for its time. It tells an intriguing story of Kiryu's development as a Yakuza as well as his initial love life along with his buddy Nishiki. I also like how the Yakuza 0 fighting mechanic, brawler, beast, rush, style existed in the game, which heavily steps up the original series beyond its graphic fidelity. My complaint is the game is too short, and it doesn't innovate much after the release of Yakuza 0. Overall, it is a solid game. Following next, we have Yakuza 4. Back then in the PS3 era, Yakuza 4 is a major improvement from Yakuza 3. The gameplay, although clunky compared to today's standard, the action is still much smoother than Yakuza 3, bumped up with the remaster from 30 frames per second to 60 frames per second, it lessens the clunkiness of the gameplay. Yakuza 4 further steps up by introducing other protagonists whose story and gameplay are interesting. Especially we get to learn some of their backstories, particularly Saejima, who is a sworn brother to Majima. The only drawback is its confusing story and plot holes. Sixth on the list is Yakuza 6, The Song of Life, in which we witness the leap of the newer Dragon Engine technology for PS4. We see a more realistic character model, its environment, as well as its gameplay. This series also marks the end of Kiryu's story created by the original producer Nagoshi. Here we see a much softer side of Kiryu, where he takes care of an infant. We also enjoy a newer setting in Onamichi, Hiroshima, than Kamurocho. By then, most players are already acquainted with the place and growing tired of it. I like this game because it is a perfect send-off of our evolved character Kiryu, allowing the studio to kickstart a brand new Yakuza game. Its graphics and the new smoothness of the gameplay make it hard to resist. We have reached the last few games on the list. From this point onward, the game is at its peak awesomeness. Starting off, we have Yakuza Ishin. I know, why would I put a spin-off game in such a high ranking? The fact is it is an awesome game. In summary, this is a fan-made service game that places itself in the Bakumatsu 1860 era at the end of the Edo period. This is where you will see a lot of familiar faces from throughout the Yakuza series. Mixing the samurai theme with the high-fidelity remake graphics, Ryuji Gotoku Studio has come up with another masterpiece. Here you play as Sakamoto Ryoma, Kiryu, a disgraced ronin from Tosa who seeks to avenge his murdered adoptive father, Yoshida Toyo. Enjoy an epic story. Here you also get to enjoy the 3 fighting styles which were earlier adapted in Yakuza 0 and Kiwami that further spice up the game. At the 4th place, we have Yakuza 7, or as it's known, Yakuza, Like a Dragon. When it was first announced, I had my reservations. Transitioning from action to turn-based RPG is a bold move. And a new protagonist, Ichiban Kasuga. That changes the tone from serious to lighthearted and loud. But you know what? Ryuji Gotoku Studio pulled it off with flying colors. The secret sauce. An intriguing story, a supporting cast that shines alongside Ichiban, and a new gameplay and location setting. And oh boy, did they crank up the nostalgia with guest characters later on. The side content, especially the part-time management challenge quest, is a blast. I'm sure many of you saw this coming for the remaining spots. And yes, the 3rd place goes to Yakuza 5. I can already sense the tension, but hear me out, it's easily one of the best Yakuza games in the series, in my humble opinion. Why, you ask? Well, it's bursting with side content, introducing new gameplay dynamics. From driving taxis to becoming a hunter, and even a singer, it's like a whirlwind. And the story? It's captivating. We get to learn on Majima's new relationships. It also features beloved characters from Yakuza 4, Akiyama and Saejima. You even get to play as Haruka, Kiryu's adoptive daughter. The game got a facelift, smoother gameplay, and better graphics than the old PS3 Yakuza titles. And now, with the remastered version, you can savor that silky smooth 60 frames per second experience. And now, brace yourselves, because we're down to the last 2 games. It's decision time, and here's where the surprises hit hard. Yakuza 0 takes the 2nd spot. Hold on, don't get those pitchforks out just yet. Yakuza 0 could easily be my number 1, and here's why. It's got not one but 2 main protagonists, Kiryu and Majima, my all-time favorites in the series. Yakuza 0 takes us back to their beginnings, where they were more reckless and vibrant, especially Majima. Witnessing the birth of the Dragon of Dojima and the Mad Dog of Shimano is a journey that's hard to forget. And those 3 initial fighting styles for each character, with an unlockable one, are brilliant. The story is riveting, with a love story that tugs at the heartstrings. Not to mention the abundance of wacky and hilarious moments in the side quests, it's a roller coaster. And don't even get me started on the cabaret club management that is so addictive to the core. Hours disappear as you get lost in its charm. If you haven't experienced it, do yourself a favor and dive in now. Trust me, you won't regret it. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the big reveal. Drumroll, please. The ultimate Yakuza game, in a humble opinion, is none other than Yakuza Kiwami 2. I could give you 100 reasons why I believe this game is an absolute gem. But here's the standout point: my heart belongs to Kaoru Sayama. She's strong, captivating, and can hold her own. You'll see it in a particular quest that involves her. The rivalry between Kiryu and Ryuji. It's not just about 2 characters, it's an intense clash of emotions and chivalry. The story, the waifu, the engaging gameplay, it's a trifecta of greatness. Yakuza Kiwami 2 employs the Dragon engine from Yakuza 6, resulting in a beautifully detailed world and seamless gameplay. Plus, you get to explore both Kamurocho and Sotenbori. It's like revisiting old friends. And guess what? The Cabaret Club management is back, but this time with even better graphics and more content. Yes, I'm all about that waifu life. The only drawback? We bid farewell to the distinct fighting styles we loved in Yakuza 0 and Kiwami. But hey, when you've got Kaoru Sayama by your side, it's a trade-off I'm willing to make. I hope this rundown covers the bulk of the Yakuza series. Apologies if your favorites didn't make it to the list as expected. Remember, you can share your picks in the comments section, especially if you're a newcomer to the series. I strongly recommend you dive into this incredible franchise. If you enjoyed this ranking, don't forget to show some love by liking and subscribing to this new channel. Until next time, catch you in the next video.